pledge and open our meeting. Bartlett, it's not allowed.
What? Sorry.
I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Rombach. Okay, so we're here for the planning board meeting, Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. We have an agenda. The first board business is our minutes of prior meetings. We have two meetings that we have minutes of, the September 4th, 2025. I would like to compliment all of you on getting along without me from that meeting. Do we have any comments on the minutes for September 4th? Can I hear a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make the motion.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next set of minutes we have are the joint meeting we had with the Charter Commission on the 29th. And it was very interesting. And several issues came up that I think we should talk about. And I'd like you all to bring things forward that you think we might want to look at further. But in the meantime, are there any comments on the minutes? Not hearing any comments, can I have a motion to accept the minutes of the joint meeting with the Charter Committee?
I'll make a motion that we accept them as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, what did you all take away from that? You all had, not all of you, but most of you had comments. Anna, can you reiterate like the things that, well, I guess I should say, what can we as a board, what is within our board's purview relative to the comments that we had at the meeting? As I recall, there were performance review comments, there were term limit comments, there was
Well, if you look at the minutes.
yeah. No, I know, but you were active in bringing things forward, so I just
Right.
want to
So
give you a
from-
chance to talk about.
Thank you. So from the perspective of our board, I think it had to do more with term limits and how to deal with absences, excessive absences of any board. I don't
Sure.
think we've had a problem in a while.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, there should be some level of understanding as to what too many means. And then I think the rest of the comments have to do related to staff and staff support. So, for example, staff not having an MOU anymore, but rather just reporting directly to town administrator. And then having the clarity around the organizational structure, such as who goes to whom for what kinds of questions. And what Daryl had said was that we go ahead and separate policy to the board and then execution to staff.
Is it sort of a general?
As a
Yeah,
general,
yeah.
yeah.
There was also, just went out of my head, there was one more thing that we talked about. Oh, the email access.
Yeah, so email access and training would be some of the things that staff could help us with to make sure that that we're receiving information and receiving training, especially when coming on board as a new member.
That was interesting, because none of us ever had much, if any.
Correct.
No, I mean, none. Other than maybe being told to go get sworn in, yeah. Okay, so, how do we?
And
Yeah.
then, the last thing was something important that you brought up, and that is our term being 5 years versus
Right.
something less than.
Yeah. Okay, so what should we, well, okay. And do you have thoughts on term limits? Do you have, I've asked around, I got some info from, Saul Marini of the Park and Rec was watching it, and he sent, we did or do have an MOU, which basically delegates our hiring performance review to the select board, which then delegates it to the town administrator.
Right, town administrator or designee.
Right.
For the last several years, it's been either TA or ATA.
And they, in this memo from the, when they put all this together about 10 years ago, they said there were two preferred ways, and one way could be done, where you basically designate it to the administrator directly, would have to be done by bylaw or home rule. So the Charter Commission could recommend that we do that, which would, eliminate all of the fuzziness and, going on. What do you feel about the terms and the term limits?
I think that our term of 5 years is a long time. I do think that if it can be lowered even by a year, 3 to 4 years, because as you said during that charter meeting, it takes a while to get a project done, and that institutional knowledge then tends to go away. But I think that it could be difficult to recruit other residents who think, yeah, 5 years is just too much. And then in terms of term limits, I do believe that 10 to 12 years should be the max that any one individual should serve on any board, not just this one.
Okay. Bartlett, do you have any comments?
Well, I wasn't there, so I can't really comment on what happened. I think that 5 years is a long time, but I think, at least in my case, it's taking me a long time to sort of get up to speed. And I think by the time my 4 years is up, I'll know what I'm doing. I'm not sure about term limits. I've been on a couple of boards longer than I can remember, 15, 20 years on one of them. And I don't see that as a problem. So I think institutional memory is important, and I think I don't see anything wrong with continuity. I mean, it can get out of hand, but I don't want to make a rule against it on that basis.
And to just address what you just said, my point was on elected terms,
Oh,
not
okay.
non-elected roles. So for example, PMBC or CPC,
Yeah.
but two elected positions.
Yeah, the theory would be that that the incumbent is always going to have an advantage, unless, they've done terribly, which would tend to discourage new voices coming forward for an elected position. I don't know if that's the case, but that's the theory.
Right. Well,
Okay. Mark, you've been how many years?
33. I think I've been on this board for 33 years. Yeah. 34?
I couldn't,
How long have you been on?
92, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. 1992, 3 new members were elected,
Mm-hmm.
Mark Marin and Tim Goddard.
Right.
And one person that was running didn't get in
Right.
and went instead to the appeals board.
So 92, so we've been on since 92. So 33 years. Having said that, I think 5 years is a long time nowadays. It's hard for people who want to serve on a board to commit 5 years, I think. So I would be in favor of looking at other alternatives. Even if it was staggered, like the old days, wasn't it 3, 4, and 5?
As far as,
No, it was always 5 here, yeah.
right, but there happened to be 3 openings one year
Yeah,
because
that's
2
right,
people
'cause they were all
resigned.
staggered at because we all had different years. So maybe we do it staggered, 3, 4, and 5 years, so you can pick whoever's up if you want to run. I do think you need to be on it for a while, to learn what needs to be learned. Back in the day, we all went to courses, we all took continuing courses, we all went as a group, as a matter of fact, back in the early days. We'd all carpool together, and we'd go to the seminars at the one in Saugus, and we were all over, but we went for a bunch of years for that, to learn it. And then the handbooks came out. We also got a book as soon as we got a zoning book. Now everything's online. And Myron, back in the day, used to do a cheat sheet for everybody, too. That maybe wouldn't be such a bad idea. He used kind of a highlight of what we're looking at and what we're talking about.
Well, we're sort of doing that now.
Right, trying to
Right.
cover that now with the
Yeah, with the sheets.
agenda cover sheet.
Right.
Yeah, kind of, but yours was more of a,
Well, I would do one for the whole meeting. This is separate ones for each application that we're doing now.
as far as term limits, I think from an elected standpoint, if somebody wants to run, they should run, and if they want to serve, they should serve as long as they're elected. I don't see a need for a term limit, not that I have a problem one way or the other, I don't, okay? And I'm the poster child for not having one, but I don't, I just think that if you want to run and you want to serve the town of Littleton, you shouldn't be restricted as to how to go about doing it, but I don't have a problem if you do restrict it to try to, I get your point about an incumbent has a little more foothold, for lack of a better word, if you're running an election. People are afraid to take on somebody that's already in the seat, although I've had elections where I had run against other people, so it wasn't always, I think that was about the upshot of most
Okay.
everything we did. And getting back to Marin for 10 years now has answered to, originally she answered to us, back in when Peter Scott and, was it Ed Mullen? Decided that they wanted her to answer to the the selectmen wanted it to her, the town administrator at the time, I think, was it Keith? Wanted her to answer to them, wanted more control over town government, wanted Marin to answer to them, and we took a vote and we said sure. So for 10 years or 12 years, they've done her reviews. HR has been involved, town administrator's been involved, I guess. Sometimes the chair, I sat in on a couple of them in the early days, so. So I think we've got that pretty much covered. If you want to finalize it, I'm great with that. Other than that, I think we've done a pretty good job in
Yeah,
muddling through it.
the process, that process seemed to me like moving to a more formalized, employee-friendly process. So we had manager to report to and to bring questions and concerns to, rather than trying to work with the open meeting law and get a,
Well, not only that, it was you had to kind of answer to the chair back in the early days. You know,
Right,
it's
right.
Really, that's who you answer to.
Right, and policy is still at the direction of the board. It's just,
It is, but I mean, as far as the day-to-day,
am I here or not? And
yeah, that used to be a question. Oh, is Myron there today? You know. So yeah, answering to the town administrator is fine. It's worked out well for the past 10 or 12 years.
One other thing that came up is did it come up regarding the planning board, but basically, why can't there be individual email accounts for,
Yeah.
and apparently that's not gonna happen, but,
Why is that?
I don't know.
I don't
We're
think it
told that
should.
it's a budget thing.
I think it absolutely should. I think we should all have email addresses that are tied to the town. Absolutely. Should have had it years ago.
I think that should be a formal request in a letter to the select board and to the finance committee. I mean, really, the fact that they can't find money to
How much
give
does
us
it cost?
email addresses.
I-
They gave the
don't
charter
look at me.
committee email addresses. They give other boards and committees email addresses. I
So
just think
can we
it's-
prepare a letter?
Yep,
I
certainly.
mean,
And this is the time of year to have that
Right.
request, because it would go into the,
there would still be the issue of, because one of the issues, I think, is distribution of correspondence that comes in. That if it well, anyway, let's see if we can get addresses. We can then determine, what the rule, in other
Are you-
words.
Are you saying like a general
Well,
planning board email
okay, so
address?
say Bartlett gets an email from someone, and would it then be, the protocol for him to forward it to the rest of us, or would it be there just for an individual? You see what I mean? I mean, if it's,
I think it depends. So some questions can be answered by us if it's a question we can answer. If
Yeah.
it's not a question we can answer, then anytime I get those, I will forward them to Maren or ask the resident to forward it to Maren in this
Mhm.
particular case, because we don't have that, we don't have an email that
Right.
goes to everybody.
I think all the emails should go through Maren anyway, to be honest with you. If you want to give a resident your email address and have her deal with you direct, I think that's up to you. But I think any
We get our email
correspondence-
addresses from town hall.
Right, even if we had that, I still think if you're going to send something to the planning board, it should go through the office. And
then
send-
why would we need individual?
Well, so we still have an email address to respond to, and if we made that email address public to somebody, like you say, somebody at the, if you want to send me some information, send it, and you get it through a public email address that's part of the planning board, I guess. I don't know if we should be, I still think that anything that comes to the planning board, or any one of us should actually have to go through Maren. I think that's the correct, well, what do you think?
I'm happy to work with however you guys would like it to see it set up and how you'd like to see it work. I don't want to ever be a stumbling block for anybody getting information or getting their questions to the town. If I happen to not be available or check email for a few days,
Yeah, that's true too.
there's always that. You don't want to run into that. But
So how does the select board work? Do you know?
Mark,
That's a good point. How do you guys do it?
are you contacted directly at a town email address?
There is an email address, selectboard@littleton.ma, that goes to all the select board members, the town administrator, the assistant, and the executive assistants, right? Typically, things that come into the select board email are not responded to by the select board members individually. If someone emails me specifically, I will respond.
But
and
how are they emailing you specifically? Is it a town issue?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the issue.
So that means we would then get a planning board general email that gets distributed to everybody, like
Which
the
we
select
sort of
board.
have now, don't we?
Not really, we don't.
Not really,
It's a
because
staff
it
email.
would have to come to you, okay,
Right.
yeah.
And then, so that gets distributed automatically, and then, as Mark just said, he will sometimes still get emails directly to his town email
Mhm.
address.
So, let's,
I'll
Write a letter.
draft a letter and
and say, this is, we would like something
We want
similar.
what they have.
Yeah. We want what Summit has.
Please request it.
Yeah.
I think you should have.
That you can certainly request it, and I would take this opportunity on IT's behalf to say, if you have them, you have to go through the security protocols or risk getting it taken away
Okay.
because of the insurance.
Oh.
Towns and municipalities, well, any public entity is a target for hazards.
Sure. Okay. Okay, so, do we, anything else on the matter of the meeting? Okay. Are there any bills?
There are two bills, one for peer review for National Grid, and the one that I wrote in is office supplies from 30.
And this is an example of something I don't see why this should be taking up planning board time. I mean, hearing time. So at some point, we'll revisit that.
You just have money to sign,
Yeah.
pay them. I think we trust her enough that you can just pay the bills.
Yeah, we would never let him.
He wasn't even there.
Okay, so, member input. What do we have? Northern Bank's really coming along. Do we have any, Henry, is there an opening date for the bank building?
No, they're closing in on it. They're doing all the finishes in there right now, so I couldn't guess on, I know they're dealing with Mass DOT, I guess, as far
Yeah.
as the driveway goes and getting that permitting in place, so I
Yeah.
thought that was a month out for that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, of course, it's a big topic of conversation in my neighborhood, and people are pretty pleased. Although, I don't know why the parking lot lights are on 24 hours a day, which is something I'll talk to you offline. We don't have anything currently on the ADU bylaw, which will be.
So we're starting to prep stuff for the November
Right.
meeting.
We're
Otherwise-
waiting after the town meeting. Do we have anything in the town newsletter?
We did, so, energy, small energy facilities siting. There is a new state law in place that will require communities to permit, go through the permitting process for small energy facilities, solar, battery storage, that are under 25 megawatt, whatever.
How did that relate to the one that LELD is doing?
It was, that size.
Okay.
Would come for local permitting. Anything bigger than that would go for statewide permitting. So it's a consolidated permitting process. Each board and committee will still have their own purview. Conservation, planning, if Board of Health has any regulations related to energy facilities. Each board would still make their own decision, but there would also be an overarching consolidated decision, and that process would have to be done within 12 months of a completed application.
Okay.
So just kind of introducing that subject.
I'm sure the town is just fascinated with that topic. Inclusionary zoning bylaw discussion. What are we discussing? What's the issue? Is it relating to 550 King or just in general?
I'm not sure I can say why.
Okay, that's fine.
Mhm.
We have the fall town meeting, which for us is pretty quiet. And then the town election.
Right, and I wanted to highlight those because, of course, the Shaker Lane School
Sure.
funding is, need votes at both the fall town meeting and the town election.
Okay, final under board business is public input. Is there anyone here? Rob? You should identify yourself, even though we all know you.
Rob Rounds, 25 Jennifer Road. Thanks for coming to the charter meeting. I'm here as a resident, not in
Okay.
any other capacity. I am advocating as a resident for the Shaker Lane School proposal. Vote yes. I think there's countless reasons. I encourage you, if you're not informed, to get informed prior to the meeting. I suspect you're all very informed. I just heard your reference with regard to night lighting. I want to give you a heads up that Littleton Conservation Trust is in the process of booking a professor from MIT presentation I suspect I saw 2 years ago with regard to dark skies.
Sure.
It's quite informative and helpful from different perspectives, so I think you might find that interesting and beneficial. Along the way, why I really wanted to be here tonight and comment was along the way of advocacy for Shaker Lane, I went to the Disabilities Commission, and it was an interesting experience over a couple of meetings. The gist of it at Disabilities, along with experience that I had with Park and Rec Commission, was that Disabilities and Park and Rec, I think, both found themselves wishing or wanting inclusion with regard to building proposal long before it came to them. And so specifically with regard to disabilities, they've got new member. I think there's really very positive things that this group can provide, and they seem to emphasize how early involvement is helpful. I've attended a number of your meetings or watched them on TV, on CTV as well. And I know that you're quite responsive with regard to trying to get citizen comments and concerns presented to developers, et cetera. And so I would just encourage, as you get into the 550 King Street later on tonight, that I know there's going to be an update. I think somehow getting groups together, and I'm trying to take the advantage of this, 2-3 minutes here, as trying to encourage that, getting groups together proactively, so we don't find ourselves down months, half a year from now, doing I wish we had the opportunity. So I just want to take advantage, because I think I often hear you folks recommending groups get together, and so I want to take advantage. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? The next scheduled item is a continued public hearing, 64 Beaverbrook Road. They have asked that it be continued to Thursday, November 13th. Do we have to vote on that?
If you would, it's helpful.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'd like to motion that we continue with 64 Beaverbrook Road to November 13th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Daryl isn't gonna make it tonight.
Our next agenda item for 6:45, which we have passed, is a discussion, collective cannabis, request to amend hours of operation and additional storage space.
Good evening. Dave Gianetta, CEO, owner of Community Care Collective, Inc., DBA Collective Cannabis, located at 537 Great Road. I just wanted to start off by apologizing, actually, for our lack of representation at the last planning board meeting, September 4th. That was my misunderstanding, and so I hope that didn't cause much inconvenience for everybody, so I do apologize for that. So this evening, we are proposing an amendment to our current hours of operation by adding 1 hour, one additional hour in the morning to have our opening hour be 8 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. And that would be still Monday through Sunday. We did receive an email of support from Chief Pinard, his exact response being, Mr. Gianetta, since the inception of Collective Cannabis in Littleton, we have had no issues at your location. Based on that, I have no concerns with your request to extend operating hours by 1 hour, opening at 8 a.m., and no reason to oppose it. I have CC'd the town administrator, James Duggan, on this response. So that was the chief's response to that. And So we're just seeking an approval from the board this evening to allow for the extension of our operating hours by 1 hour.
Okay, and the other part of this discussion is creating additional space.
Yes, would you like me to speak about that
Yes.
all together? Okay. So additional storage space is another topic for this evening. So we've reached a point with our business where we have 3 individual stores, including Littleton. Each store has limited storage space, just based on the way the buildings were built or how they were fit out. So what we've done is we've signed a lease with our landlord in Littleton to utilize additional space in the rear of the building, which is existing warehouse space. As you can see on the floor plan, it would be the area shaded in pink. I can actually give just a quick review of this plan. So area shaded in green is what we call our front of house. So that would be most of the areas that customers can access. Basically, we call that the sales floor. That would be the space in green. The space in purple is what we call back of house. So that would not, that would be limited access to only employees and certain employees in certain areas. I won't go into too much detail, but this is all part of the special permit that we're under. And then the pink space is the proposed space for storage purposes. So the space in pink will be predominantly used for non-cannabis items. As I mentioned, we have 3 stores, so everything that we do is multiplied by 3. So that's seasonal decor, like Christmas trees, things you would see in regular retail businesses. Mannequins, Halloween decorations, clothing merchandise, t-shirts, sweatshirts, sweatpants, etc. Archived files that we're required to maintain by regulation, such as waste logs, visitor logs, employee files, overflow of floor display carts, other carts used for daily product movement, paper products, paper towels, toilet paper, feminine hygiene products, etc., dry product packaging, folding tables, chairs, pop-up tents for events. These are the types. I'm just trying to give you a visual of the items that we're intending on storing. And if you could picture that each store in their own respective location will typically need to be responsible to store those items. We've gotten to the point where we have off-site storage of these items at this point. So what this will do is it'll help us create some efficiency, keep it all under one roof, so to speak, that type of thing. The space will also be used for storage of cannabis. And that's mainly what brings me here today. We have the same storage restraints at our other locations with cannabis storage, just as I was mentioning for non-cannabis. So what we would do is we would store an overflow of cannabis products for each store to create greater efficiencies and increased buying power from our wholesale providers by storing in this one location. So what happens here is the Cannabis Control Commission, they will require what's known as an architectural review. And anytime you make any changes under your existing license, so we have a retail license, so under that license we want to make a change by adding this storage space, especially where it includes cannabis products, we have to file for an architectural review. And so as part of the review, we basically lay everything out, how the space will be used. We show them this plan. We indicate the space that's going to be used for cannabis purpose, which really makes up about, I'd say about 25% of the space. But with that,
Where on the map?
so if you were to come, just looking straight on at that screen, at that plan, come down, we'll call it two almost two halves. You have that demising wall that runs in between. Keep coming down from there. Best way to do it is take from that demising wall. Can you see that little dotted line that represents existing like barn doors that are inside the space? If you could see that break in the wall. The right side of that, where that barn door opening is, draw a perpendicular line straight down toward the exterior, and then everything to the right.
So that
Does that
bottom
make sense?
cube.
Yes, bottom right corner, if you will. It includes existing, these three, they're called closets because that's really what they are. All of the way that you see the space right now is exactly how it is and how we leased it. So as part of this review with the commission, Cannabis Control Commission, we have to just give them a narrative. And part of that narrative is there will be no building permit required because the things that we're doing there is more cosmetic, like paint. We would have to put up like a partition fencing to secure the product, but that doesn't require a building permit. So that all being said, we were trying to be proactive, and we had Commissioner Fontaine come down to the space. We walked him through the space. He's seen everything. And it was just during our discussion that he recommended that we have this conversation. So I had said, well, you know, I happen to be going to the planning board on October 2nd to talk about the hours amendment. So maybe that's a good time to talk about this. So that's why we're here. So that's pretty much it. We're not changing that space. We're not, nothing we're doing would require a building permit. Oh, and I'm sorry, the commission, Cannabis Control Commission, will likely reach out to Commissioner Fontaine, and they're gonna look for that verification. So rather than catch him off guard, we wanted him to see the space, totally understand it, more or less agree with that, and say, okay, you know, if he gets that call, then he'll understand what they're referring to.
Do you have any comments?
No, I walked the space, it's sprinkled, meets egress requirements, so to me, it seemed really good, seems safe.
Okay, board comments. Anna? On the two different
Yeah, I don't have any
matters.
concern about the hours. I think where in the marijuana bylaw, the retail bylaw, does it specify anything about space?
What do you mean?
So in other words, we have our marijuana bylaw. It talks about retail. So within that, does it talk at all about space? I thought we were just having an informal discussion tonight. I didn't think that we were actually going to be making any sort of decision.
You're asking if warehouse space, storage is different from retail space.
Right.
Under our
Right.
bylaw.
And the subtext is, should we be discussing this at all?
Well, I
I mean,
think,
it's under the jurisdiction of the Cannabis Commission, it's under the jurisdiction of the building commissioner. What do we have to say about it?
all I'm saying is that I don't know what the bylaw says. I thought this was just an informal discussion, so I didn't think we would be.
David?
If I may, I thought this might come up. So I'm citing section 173-200C in the Littleton zoning bylaw, which is under the marijuana section. So this is, I'll just read it verbatim. Marijuana establishment that seeks to expand or alter its operations so as to come within a new class or subclass of marijuana establishment as identified 935 CMR 500, .050 subsection D, shall obtain a new special permit prior to undertaking such expansion or alteration. So we are not warehousing, we are still under our retail license, of which we're approved for. So therefore, we're not seeking to alter to come within a new class or subclass. And as identified in 935 CMR, that's referring to the Cannabis Control Commission regulations of the different classes of licenses. So we're not seeking a different license. This is by right with the Cannabis Control Commission. We can store, we just have to amend with them where we intend on storing these products, and which we will do so through what's known as an architectural review. So that's part of this whole process. They will require certain security, cameras, access control, all of these types of things. So we would have to go through them. I can definitely commit to providing the board that approval when that approval comes. But we are certainly not looking to alter our license. Our license would remain as a retail license. This won't change any flow of traffic. It won't increase customer count. It won't increase impact. It's storage. That's all it is.
Okay. And part of the reason why I ask is because that is a very large space, and I know that you're saying that only the lower right-hand side is what's going to be cannabis storage, so.
Correct.
All right.
I'd say 25% of that cube, 25% would be cannabis. 75% would be, I'll say, non-cannabis and walking space, like working space to arrive at those two classifications of storage.
Mm-hmm.
Bartlett.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Really no objections. Storage of stuff is part of your retail operation, and this is just making it bigger, so I don't see that we have any issue with it.
Mark.
I agree. It facilitates their operation. Cannabis is going to look at the security aspect of it, which is about the only thing we would even have a purvey to. And if they're okay with it, then we should be okay with it. If Henry's okay with it, we should be okay with it. Let's just say, let them send it to the cannabis people, and if they get approved, great. If not, and they don't get they get the regular storage. I don't think they need anything for that. But if they want to increase the holding of the product, I have no problem with that. These are like liquor stores. They need space to store their product.
So we have two issues before us, and the question is, do we even need a motion for the storage space? And it may seem like we don't. That
I don't think we do.
this has been brought before us as informational. If we want to take a motion, that's fine, but we could not. And just say, thank you for bringing us along. Yes, we do want to see the Cannabis Commission's approved plan. So I'm going to do the first part. I want a motion that we approve the applicant's request to amend their hours of operations. Can I have a motion?
So I'll make a motion that we add 1 hour per day in the morning at 8 o'clock.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now as for the second one, what do we think? Do we have a
I don't.
problem with
I
just,
think you said it. Thanks, and let us know when you get the cons.
I can commit to that.
Okay.
I'll provide, it's what it sounds like, it's an approval. So it'll be like a letter format.
That's fine.
You've been approved for.
and if you would maybe attach this plan and just put a line where.
Indicate the space.
Just do it
Absolutely.
graphically.
Sure. Yeah, I
Okay.
can do that.
Are we okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, next, 550 King Street, update from development team.
Good evening, board. My name is Morgan Pearson, Senior Vice President of Development for Rapoli Companies. Also on the team here is Gary Armstrong, our Head of Construction, and Mary Rapoli, Head of Leasing, and part of the development team as well. Thank you for bringing this up, Cooper and Marin. The last time we met, we talked about coming back to the board, providing an update in general, but also specifically both a visual and a graphical representation of how we were seeing the next phases coming about at 550 King Street. So if we could advance so this is the approved site plan, as you may all recall, and I forget which board member requested it, but a visual of what we were going to focus on. So the next slide represents what we're calling phase 1 of the retail village, and we're focusing on this section in particular, which is actually, I think, really good news, because in times past, we were looking to perhaps phase this a little bit more gradually, but as I may have mentioned to the board in the past, we've brought on an incredibly experienced retail consultant, and Mary, myself, and part of the team have been going around the country speaking to retailers, as I may have mentioned in the past, and their input and our consultants has been build a critical mass here, create a critical mass for the retail. And even more importantly, there's a ton of interest to come to Littleton in this project in particular. So that has given us the confidence and the enthusiasm to, I think, make this first phase larger and look to build more of the project faster and deliver more of the retail sooner. So that's the retail village, phase 1. The other piece, which we've also spoken to the board about in the past, is phase 1 of the residential, which is shaping up to look very similar to what you see here, which is these 2 buildings and the parking garage as well. And that is also something we've talked about in the past and focused on, and we hope to be in front of the board on that in the near future as well. The next slide is a little bit more of a detailed outline of how we envision this happening. It is our best understanding at this moment in time, as we continue to advance design and look at what is possible in the site and get into the details of the project. I think it's self-explanatory, but I'm happy to kind of verbalize what we're trying to show here, which is for the retail phase 1, we are hoping, and our goal is to be in front of the board in mid to late November, to submit to the board in mid to late November, and then hopefully be in front of the board with a site plan review for the retail piece in December. That's what we're all pushing for internally, working with our design team and our engineers and our landscape architects to be able to submit something in mid to late November. And the residential is shifted a little bit past that. It's a little bit more of a complex project, but we're elbows deep in that process as well, and so that you see that shifted out a little bit more. And then we've taken a stab at just outlining what the design and construction process will look like and when we hope to deliver those buildings. So maybe I'll pause there. I see if there's any questions for the board. Happy to talk about other things or answer any questions that might be out there, but wanted to be responsive to the last request. And I hope this at least provides some more insight. Thank you.
Anna.
So I did have a question about the timing. So based off of the project phasing that was done back in April of '24 and then the June '24 special permit, so it looks like the residential piece is starting 1 year late for construction and then ending 2 years later. Can you tell us why this is happening?
Sure. I mean, I think there's many, many factors, but one of the conversations we've been having with town staff is I think, extraordinary effort by both LELWD and our own team to put in the infrastructure. I think it's been, known by everyone since the beginning that without the infrastructure improvements, without the wastewater treatment plant, without our ability to connect into that new system, we cannot capitalize these projects. We cannot get a bank to sign on, and we cannot, because we cannot say when they can open, when they can hook into that. Now, obviously, tremendous progress has been made. Our understanding right now, although it has shifted, of course, is that is looking to be potentially November, but I don't know if that's fully finalized yet. And I know everyone's working towards that. So the good news is there's been a lot of progress on the infrastructure, but there was never going to be an ability to start without having more clarity on when that infrastructure was getting finalized. So I'm not sure if anyone's been to the site recently, but it is very exciting to see not just the wastewater sewer improvements and the utility improvements, but also the roadway improvements, which are also critical to being able to have pad sites ready for the residential and the future retail.
Isn't the existing sewage treatment plant where the
That's also right, yes.
residential's gonna go?
Absolutely, that's a great point, and that cannot be demolished until we can unhook from it, because it's currently serving the old IBM buildings, which I think the board knows is occupied, and we're currently leasing up. It's that moment where it can't be shut down and then work, and then we click it on. It's really got to be like a light switch where you sort of unhook and hook in at the same time, so there's no loss of service.
But I guess from what you explained, it sounds like you had this timeline, and the infrastructure is going to be done in November. So again,
we hope it's going to be done in November. That's right. Yeah, that's what we've heard. I mean, last year it was, I think, sooner than that. Even a year ago, we were told it was June. So, it's something that sort of has to be definitive, not hopeful.
So what you're saying is that this is on LELWD, not on...
I'm not here to sort of point fingers. I'm just explaining the circumstances when we're trying to navigate in order to try to deliver some of these buildings.
Okay. And then, so if we're starting 1 year late, then why are we ending 2 years later?
Well, the buildings, any building like this typically takes 20 to 24 months, and Gary certainly can correct me on that. But this is in keeping with what the market is to deliver buildings of this complexity.
Gary Armstrong. I think there's a couple pieces to it. There's actually 2 buildings and a garage that are being built in this first phase. So there's actually a little bit more on the parking infrastructure as well. And I think all of that combined is what's adding a little bit more time to the timeline.
Okay, because I hope you see what I'm saying. If we're starting a year later,
Sure.
then you would think you would end the year later, not
Sure.
2 years later.
Yeah, and the scope as a whole isn't quite apples to apples. We were calling it phase 1 before. The pieces are just a little bit different. There's a little bit more to it. There's also the parking garage, so it's actually a little bit more in that first piece with the residential and the garage that's going in.
I would also add that, one might accuse me of being a little conservative here. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, so I think maybe there's some cushion here. We hope to do better than this, but I wanted to give you something that we felt was realistic at this time.
Thank you. So my follow-up question then is, the retail is actually going to be done 1 year earlier, and so is that also part of why the residential is now being delayed, is because you're pushing the retail ahead 1 year, again, based off of what the 2024 phasing plan said?
Yeah, and I would say the retail village, and I'm a little bit fuzzy in exactly what was shown last time for total scope, but my guess is before it was showing on the opposite side of the green, and you probably had more in there, so I think it's a case of the phase that we're going in with right now is, now that it's refined and we're locked in on the pieces that we're doing based on the progress that Morgan touched on earlier and has touched on in the past, that Mary and the retail broker and team have been working on. We are locked in on this tranche of buildings, and we're getting more comfortable with what that exact time frame is to do that.
Okay. Well, the reason why I ask, and this is the plan from April of '25, and also this is what's in the planning board decision from from April of '24, and June of '24 was the decision. So what used to be phase 4 and phase 5 is now going to be phase 1, and will even be done before the residential.
Sure.
So that's a huge shift in what was originally being thought about. And tell me again why?
Yeah, I think what we're reacting to is the environment and the economic realities of trying to build something this complex. I think what that phasing project did was give what our best hope and aim was at that time. And as time has passed and as we've reacted to the market, there's an opportunity here to fast track some things. We are very mindful of delivering the housing as soon as we possibly can as well. And again, it ties back to that, some of the hurdles and the sequencing that needs to happen. So we hopefully, we see that the retail, which also comes with some housing as well, is viewed as a good thing, that we're able to fast track some of that sooner than we otherwise would. Obviously, the larger housing, we're pushing as fast as we can on that piece as well.
There will also be phasing in that, so if there's an opportunity to open pieces as we go, we will look to do that as well, and we'll coordinate that with Henry and his staff. But as when you look at what Morgan put up on the screen, it is one long bar for the design and construction activities, and as we get further into the design, those pieces will get broken down further. Multiple buildings, we will likely occupy them as we go, so the actual opening will phase through that period of time.
And Anna, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I figured it's helpful.
Come to my.
I group session over here. I want to make sure, you had mentioned that the question was, is the residential being delayed because of the retail, and that's not the case. The retail, we've gotten so much activity, which is a positive thing for us from regional and national brands, that it's given us the confidence to start earlier. So the residential construction is not tied to the retail at all. That will continue to go, and those are separate, and that's correct.
They're separate, they're
Yeah.
totally separate.
Isn't it a lot easier to build the retail than it is a 10-story, a 4-story, 4-story?
It's 10, isn't it?
Yeah, 10, a 4-story apartment building.
Well, that's to the point of the phasing, Mark. That's why I talk about the phasing, because if you go back to the plan that was up there, there are the first couple of buildings that are just off the green are much smaller, so those will be completed much earlier in that long bar. The ones actually down the end that come with a parking garage are going to take longer to build, and those will be a little bit later. And then when you come back to the actual residential village, yes, those are much larger buildings with a parking garage. And the way that phasing and sequencing of just the residential village will work is a parking garage will be fully erected with the structure before you actually begin the construction of the adjacent buildings that have the apartments in them. So there's a path through that. And again, these will continue to get refined and detailed with more information as we go. What's important right now is the timing of actually getting in front with the package in November that the team is working towards, which will then pave the way for the subsequent pieces. So I think we're coming in with more and more clarity on those pieces as the time goes on, and we will continue to share more and more detailed information as that design evolves as well.
All I'm trying to say, in my former life, I dealt with mixed use. We did apartment buildings and we did retail.
Yep.
And the retail was always the easiest component to it. It's 2 stories, it's not steel, it's...
Again, the smaller buildings are, but at the end of that retail village, those are a little bit larger and they have the
I'm just
adjacent
saying,
garage.
that's the reason they're gonna be done first.
Yep.
I think one of the things that I look forward to is to be able to talk with residents, when I'm talking about King Street Common, about the positive aspects of it. And so, obviously, folks have no idea what to expect right now in terms of the retailers that are going to be there, as that hasn't been disclosed. So what positive things would you say we should convey to residents who are asking us about how's it coming along?
Yeah, I mean, what I would say though, I think, and you've heard this a couple times tonight, is that it's hard to overstate how important and how positive it is that we have gotten the reception we have from the retail community, the industry.
Will that then equate to earlier revenue for the town?
For sure. I mean, the way retail works, and Mark kind of alluded to this somewhat, is that we need to have some pre-leasing done so that we can have banks help finance this and we can make sense of it economically. We no developer would build this all 100% on spec. So getting interest from the tenants is the first step, which has gotten us to start going on that piece. And the second part is getting some leases signed, which we're working on, which is really exciting. And those leases actually help other groups say, well, now I want to be next to that tenant because they're really interesting, or we always go next to those people. then that further builds interest as we're progressing design, and that lets us start sooner and finish sooner and then fill the buildings. I don't think any community wants just retail that's sitting vacant, and so this ensures that that's going, and I think we've been having different conversation if Mary and I had gone to Las Vegas and New York and Boston and had a reception of just the crickets, but thankfully that is not the case. So I think what's exciting is that there's a lot of interest, and that will help, that will allow us to have the ability to be kind of more selective on what kind of stores go in here, and there'll be stores that I think a lot of people will be excited about, and will make this whole project even more interesting and more successful, which then helps, you know, I guess catalogs more residential. It'll help fill some of the office buildings. It's all connected.
Thank you.
Bart?
My understanding at the beginning of this, a year ago, was that the retail would be mostly small stores, not destination stores. So I was wondering if that commitment still holds, and what the sort of normal size of the store in these buildings would be. Or how many stores would there be in one of those buildings?
Absolutely. I mean, the short, sincere answer is yes. There's stores that are 1,500 square feet, 1,900 square feet, 2,500 square feet. The nuance I would just make, to not overpromise to you on that, is that a retail center like this also benefits from having what's called, I'm blanking on that, like a minor anchor. Yeah, but junior anchor is the word, which is, you know, maybe a store that's 10 or 12,000 square feet. That's just a single one of those. But otherwise, the goal is to have this be many, many smaller storefronts. And that's tied to everything I just said about all the positive things. Those are the kind of stores we're interested in. Now, there's also restaurants we want to put in here too, which are exciting. Those tend to be more like 4,000, 5,000 square feet with outdoor seating. So those are a little bit bigger, but I think that's still the spirit of what you're saying.
I think so, yeah.
I am excited that you're doing the retail. I mean, you were sort of not pushing the retail forward until recently. And I think it will, if you can bring the housing and the retail up together, I think it will be better for your whole experience. In terms of the, if you were to point to the type of retailers, I mean, there's a place in Acton called Brookside. I think it's Brookside something. You know, it's where Talbot's,
Trader Joe's,
J. Crew, Trader Joe's, etc. You know, and those are all national stores, but they're smaller. Is that what we're talking about, those type of stores?
Very similar.
I mean, I can't imagine why any of those people in that thing wouldn't want to move out here.
Very smart.
Okay, and, you know, and I have noticed what's going on there, that they're keeping pretty full, even though that's not a fantastic
It's a
location.
terrible place,
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway, so maybe point them to Brooks, is it Brookside? I don't know what it is.
I don't actually know the name of it, but I know.
It's where Trader Joe's is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. I'm interested when you come before us with the, you know, the first site plan is the parking. I mean, you have to have this parking garage, don't you? I mean, to open the retail?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one. I mean, so Gary sort of alluded to that, but I mean, if we could, you know, share our dream is that would start construction in Q2 next year and get going, because that is a huge factor.
And then the next thing that I'd like some info on is, what are you doing with the rest while this phasing? I mean, is it just gonna be piles of dirt, or,
Yeah, I mean, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, you're talking about the parcels that.
well, the parcels
aren't
that,
under
the
construction.
rest of the housing,
And what
the,
is phase 4 going to look like while
Sure,
you're doing
yeah,
phase
yeah.
1?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously portions of it, especially while we're building this first phase of residential and this first phase of retail. There are portions of those other parcels that will be fenced-in construction logistics area to support that work off of the roadways. So that will for sure happen. But as the work winds its way down and it works towards occupancy, then Yeah, no, the intent isn't to leave a bunch of materials stored there between phases, but absolutely to use it for logistics during the construction process.
In a neat and tidy manner. I mean, that's gonna, you know, it's gonna, you're gonna have to be renting and leasing and all that stuff, and, you know, anyway, that's just,
absolutely.
that's a concern.
Neat, organized, enclosed in a fence with windscreen on it.
I mean,
all
we're
of the
seeing this
above.
going on in the Northern Bank. They, you know, they're creating a material junk area and whatever. So, I guess that's my comment. I think that, you know, what Anna was getting at is, you know, we're really dying for this housing, and great about the retail, but if it's impacting the development of the housing, which it's not, that's okay. Mark?
I'm excited about the retail because of the fly-throughs that you did that showed the walkability of it. I think the residents are gonna wanna see that before they see four-story buildings going up and everything else. So I think it's actually a better way to phase it. And we get use out of it while you're building the rest of it as well. I mean, you're gonna open as soon as you can. You're not gonna wait till there's occupancies in the apartments. I know that it's been a long haul trying to get through MIPA, through the water department, through the sewer, tearing up all the roads and everything else like that.
It's a lot of work.
It's just
Lot of
the
work.
infrastructure of it before
Correct.
we even put a piece of steel in the ground has been
Correct.
a couple of years easily. So I'm excited that it's finally getting to the spring of next year. We're gonna start seeing stuff elevated.
I remembered what I was gonna say. I have walked just recently on the site. I can't say it's exciting. I mean, it's just a bunch of dirt.
Have you walked since the paving and curbing is going in?
No, I have not.
Yeah,
No, that was not
if
done.
you walk now,
Okay.
it's exciting.
I will make a point. I will make a
It's
point.
exciting.
It was where, I think I was just looking where because where it's torn up is where the parking garage is gonna go.
Sure.
But
And that
anyway.
is torn up, but
Yeah.
where the new, it's really exciting, it
It's
is.
exciting for us, we love construction.
Because if you look at that parkway that
You can see it,
goes
yes.
in front of the two residential buildings, you can actually see it taking shape now.
Okay, well, that would be
You
exciting.
can see the asphalt, you can see the curbing, you can
Okay.
see the topsoil in between.
Oh.
Now, it's gonna be there through the construction of those buildings, but, you know, it's the definition of that first piece of the site, and that is exciting, because
Okay.
that's the first opportunity.
If we
we've all
won't be
had.
chased off, we will love to take.
How are you in the MIPA process, by the way?
That you're looking at.
Yeah, we're in a great place. We are submitting in a couple of weeks for a final EIR and looking for a final certificate December 1st. And it's gone very well, although, as you sort of alluded, Mark, we're in our 12th month on that process, so.
Well, and to that regard, though, there were a lot of public comments, our comments as well, and they requested that you address those. So what's the plan to do that?
Yeah, they'll be addressed in the response, and there's also been subsequent conversations based on those comments with Mass DOT and the MIPA staff.
Okay. There's one particular comment that I wanted to bring up about that, because I think it might just be an error, but I want to make sure it's just an error. So, in the DEER report, this is a page from the DEER report, and it shows Building S over here on the side, which is 410 Great Road, right? So we get 804 plus 285 units is 1,089. Math makes sense, totally understand it. However, in the secretary's certificate from August, that is a current document we're reviewing, page 59 and other pages identify buildings R and S as being on the 550 King Street side. And so R and S, according to the map from April of '24 would indicate that R&S will have 65 buildings and 65 residential units and 285. So all I'm saying is the maps are,
Need to be sort of, better coordinated.
yes.
Understood.
So,
That may have
just
been
to-
already being addressed, but I will double check on that.
so just to clarify, Building S on this map will not have 285 residential units in it.
That's correct. It's on, based on that map.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. So
Absolutely.
we just need to make sure that we have the proper information, because they're different.
For sure.
Yeah, you have, I forget what the number is, but some large number of apartments in Building C, which on this map is just a little pavilion for, wouldn't even be able to sell hot dogs out of it. So I don't think you're going to get 50 or 100 units in it.
You guys are going to love this when we update the site plan, where we've chosen numbers now too, so it's really going to confuse. But it's certainly not intentional, but it's because of those letters got confusing on our side as well. So we'll make sure those tick and tie. Thank you.
I have one more comment about the image of the residential. And one thing that we hear when we talk to residents is the last big retail project was the Point. And we have a whole line of retail which is empty. And now, I understand that's a different ownership and, there are various reasons, but I believe, and you may think the same, is those are huge spaces. If you look, they go back hundreds of feet, and they have no problem renting the smaller units, because there's been coming and going. And so, is that a reasonable way to look at the retail strategy, is that you were specifically not going for huge places because there may be less demand for those?
Yes, I mean, I don't want to speak about the Point. I don't know the dimensions as you're suggesting, but certainly we have no intent to have the depths, hundreds of feet on this. And we are, so PCA is our design architect. They have extraordinary experience designing retail.
Is that used to be called Purwitch?
It's the same. Yep.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
just easier to say PCA.
Yeah, no, they know what they're doing.
And we're working with David Chelinsky himself and others on that team. They've done some of the most prominent retail that is successful within the region. On top of that, we've brought in Jeremy Grossman and the Grossman Development Group, who has also done extraordinarily successful retail as an owner and a broker and a manager of retail. So, and Mary comes to us with her own experience in working and leasing downtown Boston retail and commercial space. So with the brains combined, it's in our interest to, Jeff, to make sure that we don't have that kind of vacancy, and if we do, that those spaces are releasable very quickly. So certainly hear that, but I've seen the spaces you're talking about too. And,
Well, comes up frequently.
Sure.
Why are we building more retail when
that's,
what
yeah,
we have?
it's so
It's just a
though.
different, it's
Yes,
just.
exactly,
different, yeah.
exactly, you're absolutely right.
But the Point also has septic issues, which is one of
Well,
the...
that's a market basket issue.
All right, we don't need to talk about that.
Okay. I have a couple of additional comments. I just, as representing the Housing Trust, I just would, and reading Rick's letter, which I had here, committing to, following the affordable housing commitment, I would just like to see a schedule of which units are going to get built when and what phase and what buildings, just so we have a point to discuss. We talked about that earlier, that there would be some kind of a schedule.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. I will tell you, I heard that. I have a draft. I've been talking to Maren a little bit, who's given me some more homework, which is helpful. I will commit to you that we'll bring something back the next meeting. I will say, I think we've said it in the past, so I'll just repeat it, that phase one, the intent is 9 units of the 300 plus in that phase. That is very much in keeping with the bylaws as we understand them, and we think are as accurate. That number will escalate as we go, as we build more. Like maybe phase 3 could be 50 or 45 units within a building once we hit that next threshold. So we are absolutely going to follow the letter of the law from the bylaws.
Okay,
on
well,
fees.
I would just like to see.
Yep, understood,
Paragraph.
understood.
And the other comment was, that, there's been a number of comments about the trees and the greenery, and you're taking out, and there are 302 large mature trees, and proposing to plant 100 equal trees, which, I don't know where you're going to get 100-foot diameter trees that you can plant on site, but I would like to see more trees and more
Yep.
greenery, and I'm just saying that that's an issue.
No, we hear that, and we've made commitments, as you suggest, and Gary and I talk about trees more than most people. It's a little awkward, but we are committed to.
I'm an advocate,
Yeah,
I'm the biggest thorn in their side when it comes to the trees, trust me. And
And leave
there's a
some of
lot
those
of
300.
wonderful trees over there that we have every intent of,
There are some.
coming in and root pruning and spading and transplanting to other portions of the site, because they're absolutely gorgeous.
There are some really nice
Yeah,
trees.
I-
I walked it before
Yeah.
you guys got it.
100% agree with you. Yeah.
And if we wanted to replicate them, they're expensive, so that's also incentive.
Well, they're hard to find.
Yeah, there you go.
Believe it or not, so.
No, we hear that, appreciate it.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, per what Bartlett just talked about related to affordable housing, we as a board have not come back around to talk about the actual bylaw and how we interpret it. I'd like to say that our bylaw, section 173-212C, says timing of affordable unit production, affordable housing units shall be provided in proportion to market rate units in the development. So, shall, in proportion to market rate units. In proportion means
10% is 10%.
yes, exactly. So I just don't understand why
There's
we're
no-
not having the conversation about
Okay.
it as a
So
board about our
I would
bylaw.
say that specific, well, first of all, I'm with you. I mean, we're going to be talking about this at every meeting. But secondly, that's very vague because it does not refer to phasing. Because the ultimate proportion will be 10%.
Yeah.
It does not say anything about when and how in a multi-phase, and maybe that's a deficiency of the, and we've, in a very small way, we've been really bitten by this with a development that was housing, where we got to the end of it and they didn't, well.
Well, and you'd think that we would have learned from that.
We would have learned from
It
that.
was one unit, and we also.
Well, 1 out of 20, yeah.
And they also had more units still to build, and we didn't know, because they never told us that those other units were never gonna be built. We're looking at 90 units here, we're also looking at developer, and correct me if I'm wrong, are you still looking at other sites in this town to put the 90 units? Is that still, I know you've been talking about that, is that still?
We're very much open to that, and we are looking for.
So it's not like they're not gonna be there, okay? There has to be a bit of a leap of faith because they're building.
I'm sorry, I don't want to take a leap of faith. And Mark, since the day I got on this board, you have been talking about wanting to provide
Absolutely.
housing for seniors, and now you're willing to.
And nobody has come
include
through
it.
that door that has
And-
offered 90 units here.
And
We have to kind of
an
work with them.
opportunity to.
That's
we
all
have
I'm
an
trying to say. I
opportunity.
want my 90 units, but I want them, that's.
But this bylaw exists, and it's very clear. I just don't
I
understand.
totally disagree with you on
And
that.
that's why we have to have a conversation.
We don't need to have a conversation. We have a plan in front of us. You're gonna get
So-
9 units off the bat, and by the time they're done, you're gonna have 90.
So,
There's
Mr. Chair,
nobody
you're not
coming
willing
through.
to have a conversation
There's-
about it.
Well, we are having a conversation. What is this?
That's,
Tell me.
So,
I do not agree with you. That's
Okay.
my part of the
And
conversation.
I don't agree with you.
okay. Mr. Harvey.
But that doesn't mean there couldn't be more than 9. But because your point of view is there should be 30, or there should be 38, or there should be whatever.
I'm reading it from what our own bylaw says.
And I read the same bylaw, and I do not get, because I am looking at the total number of this project.
In-
Like, for instance, I don't, well, whatever. And I am coming from the point of view that we will get there in the end, And that's what the bylaw says.
That's how I.
And in that we'll get there at the end, doesn't follow the bylaw, which says that they should be provided in proportion. And in proportion means just that.
Well,
That's so vague.
It's not vague. So in the first.
Proportion, what proportion?
in the
Proportion
first-
of 1-to-1, 1 to
in
5,
the
1 to
first-
10, 1 to 20,
So
1
in
to
this-
50.
Well,
That-
we've
they're
already
all
said it's
proportions.
10%. 10%, right? So if we're going to be having 297, I believe, in the first phase, then we should be having 29.
We have a draft
That's in
decision that says
proportion.
9. Do
That-
not, Mario?
So that's my perspective.
Okay, that's your
Based off the
perspective.
bylaw, based on the
And my
bylaw.
perspective, based on the vague bylaw, is that it is not, that proportion does not, it applies to the totality of the project, not the phasing of the project. This is sort of, and the bylaw wasn't written for this project.
right, the bylaw is silent on that, on the timing.
Now, you can make the argument about the bylaw, which I don't think is a strong one. But you can also make the argument, yeah, we want more in the first phase. And one of the things that comes up is that we, in the previous meeting, which I couldn't attend, we talked about ownership, the parcel ownership. And one of the big pitfalls in a project like this is if you guys lose the project, walk away from the project, don't complete the project, and we do not have the units that we were promised because of not doing the in proportion per phase. So that's something we have to balance. And no one is looking, everyone wants this project to succeed. And I'm sure part of your issue is you have financial considerations that you have to meet to make it succeed. But, we're taking a big risk because this project, to a large degree, was sold on the creation of affordable housing. I mean, there are a lot of reasons, but that was one of the main, and in terms of the number of housing units that are being built on this site. So
if we're having this discussion, I would like to understand what Mr. Harvey's perspective is.
Well, my initial reading agreed with you that 10% is 10% and it should follow as we go along, but that's not what the bylaw says. The bylaw is silent on that, how we get to that 10%. So it can be read any number of ways. So I don't think that we can force that the first 300 we get 30 units. I don't think we can force that because it doesn't say that.
can we get more than 9, however? I mean, this is a valid concern because we don't know in the future what's going to happen. I mean, one of the reasons why we have 2 projects in this town that are complicated and involve a lot of phasing. We have the Northern Bank project and we have your project. Both of them are extremely complex and ambitious, in their different contexts. In my view, the thing that got support, and the Northern Bank is right in my front yard, I'm very affected by it, is because the companies that were proposing it were essentially family-owned companies with a good track record, and they weren't going to permit it and then sell it and walk away. That made a difference. And by the same token, I don't think you want to damage your, the good feeling that, so that's a conversation, and I don't agree with you on your reading of the bylaw, but I do agree with you on pushing for more in the first phase.
That's exactly why I wanted a schedule, so we could have something specific to talk about.
That's something good to work off with, for sure. Yeah, it's a more
Right, I mean,
concrete.
I'm not going to agree with it, no matter what it is, but I want to have it so we can talk
Yeah,
about
we
it.
want 9.
Well, and whatever it is going to change, as you can appreciate it, because it's one building might go from 250 to 225 units, or we're
Right.
only going to build 170 in this one next phase. It depends on, the market is a huge factor, as you pointed out, Jeff. I mean, it's a really critical part of getting these things out of the ground and getting built.
Well, the other thing is that you do, I know you're creative, and you were trying to work through this particular building, and, you know, that, so, anyway, work hard to try to do better.
So, I have one additional question. You're allowed to build affordable units off-site, and I'm just wondering what your thinking is on how much you would like to do on-site and off-site. Because my point of view is that I'd like to have a lot of them, or most of them, or all of them at 550.
Okay, that's good feedback. I mean, there was a point where, as you all know, there was talk of trying to put a large
Right.
portion of them here as deeply feasible affordable senior housing. We were very much open to that. I mean, I think our position is we want to be responsive to the town, and we want to do something that the majority of people want. I think we obviously are realists. There's always going to be someone who doesn't want one thing or the other, but if we are able to do some off-site, I think, and it benefits and it creates a senior housing development that is beneficial to the people who occupy it, who want to live next to each other. You know, that sounds like a win-win for everyone to us.
Right.
What that number is, whether it's 40 or 30, I mean, I think part of it depends on what the site would be. I mean,
Right.
this building, maybe you can handle 30 or 40 units. You know, somewhere else maybe you can only handle 15, and does that make sense? So what I would say is we're open to all of that, and we're open to studying those things if it makes sense. But I understand your position too.
I think one of the ideas that perhaps you all should be considering is the company called Lab 9 here in Littleton that does modular apartments. And I think you've heard
We've been
about
talking
them.
with them.
Right, and so if their idea to be able to put up to 30 units on less than 1 acre where sewer is available makes sense, then have that discussion. And that could go a long way toward solving both of our perspectives. That is, making sure that our seniors are actually getting housing now before they're not here anymore. And then second of all, being able to, you know, mark that off your list as something that you're making progress toward.
Sure.
Less than 1 acre. You have 40-some acres over there, so I would think that that would be something that you would hopefully consider.
And you remarked about seniors and community, and that is sort of my concern about sprinkling them throughout the 800 whatever units. I'm not sure that's the best thing, rather than having them, you know, congregated together.
I think they want to be together.
Yeah,
I agree.
Thank you.
But that may not be something you want to do to one of your buildings.
Yeah, I mean, or if we could do it, you know, acquire another site, or, you know, something like that, like this, of course, so. I mean, I hope we're not saying no, of course, any of this, because we want to be open to it, and we want to be sensible about it. We don't want to do it just for the sake of it. It's got to make sense.
Every meeting we'll be talking about this.
We'll be here.
I had one final comment, Mr.
Sure.
Chair. So, given that you said you're coming back in December, and it sounds like you're going to be coming back with the retail,
That's right. First submission.
so Morgan and now Gary, you guys are new and you haven't been here since the beginning of these conversations, but one of the things that is really critical is being able to see Littleton in the development. And as we talked about in previous meetings, seeing something that looks like it belongs in some other part of the country versus belonging here in Littleton is really going to affect people. And so to the degree that you can be honest about following form-based code and what that looks like for Littleton, it would make this go a lot faster.
When you say honest, what do you mean?
Well, I'll just say another developer in town, you know, said, oh, this is following form-based code, and it was basically a butchered version of it. And that's just not okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, we're in the thick of it now, and we're absolutely working very hard to make sure we adhere to all of that. And and also to the spirit of Littleton and make sure it fits within the community. That's something that's really important to us, about between the materials and the finishes and the colors. It's got to fit in for sure. That's the fun stuff, though. That's the exciting stuff.
Well, I think a project like this is going to create its own context, and let's just hope it's a really great one.
We agree.
It is, we promise. Always that promise.
Okay.
Okay, the Red Sox have almost started.
Starting, right now.
So, do
Better
I,
night tonight.
do I have a motion to close the hearing?
Wasn't here.
The meeting?
Adjourn.
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 Adjourn. Do I have a meeting to adjourn? I mean, do I? I'm really thinking ahead here. Do I have a motion to
Yes.
adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, very much.
And if you want to meet out there, anybody on the board, and walk it at some point, and look at it and talk about it, and